Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Second Star to the Left. I'm Michelle, and this is my daughter, Billy.
Hi.
And here's where we'll share board game reviews, ramblings, and a few wrong turns along the scenic route. Recently, we completely reorganized the game room. Took everything off the shelves and put it back and realized that we have entirely too many games.
No such thing.
No, there is. But I thought, what if I didn't have all these shelves? And you can see by our space that we do not have your typical game room. So there's no room up here in the third floor of our house for a 5x5 kallax. That is not an option.
Calling it a third floor is generous.
Okay,
it's a converted attic.
It's the attic, but it's a nice attic. But we don't have room for a 5x5 kallax. That is not an option anywhere in this room at all. What we do have are nice shelves along the walls that hold plenty of games and one lonely little 2x2 kallax. So what we decided to do, just for fun, was to imagine what would happen if the only space we had to store any board games was that 2x2 kallax. What if we were limited to only what we could keep on the 2x2 shelf? And what if each of us were limited to just 2 of the little cubby holes? Here's the challenge, and maybe you want to try it too. If you do, let us know in the comments. Here's the rules to the challenge that we're going to do. First, we're going to take turns putting the games in. So we each get a turn. We cannot plan them out in advance, and we cannot pre-measure what games are going to fit. Second, the games have to be either vertical or horizontal. No cram them in there all higgeldy-piggeldy. Third, there's no time limit because time limits break Billy's brain.
They do.
So we did not do that.
That's why I can't play Space Trucker or Galaxy Trucker.
But we want to keep it snappy. So you might want to set a time limit if you're doing it. We didn't set a time limit, but we weren't allowed to kind of take too long to make these choices. So it was just pick a game, pick a game, pick a game. You can have 2 do-overs if you need them to remove a game that you've already put in. But once games are in, otherwise they stay. And you can't take them out and rearrange them and turn them all sideways to make more games fit. You have to do your best.
And they have to be orthogonal to each other. They can't be all
I
higgeldy-piggeldy. They
already
can't
said
be
higgeldy.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I don't remember. I remember if you said higgeldy-piggeldy.
So I think the decision here is, do you try to pick your favorite games? Do you pick a giant box campaign game because these are the only games you're going to have? Or do you go for quantity over quality? So we're going to start. I chose first. We're not going to talk about all of the games except for some that might be kind of surprise choices and why we put them in. But my first choice onto the shelf...
Monopoly.
It was Monopoly, but I took it as one of my do-overs. No, I didn't. My first choice was New York Zoo. Obviously, I'm going to put my favorite game onto the shelf. And I stood it upright so that I would leave enough room for other games. What was your first choice?
Cobble and Fog, because we had just played it, so it was fresh on my brain.
And also, you can get a lot of replays at a Cobble and Fog. So
For sure, yeah.
Definitely. My next choice was Tiny Towns, which is a game that I really love and recently gave a little upgrade to with all little stickers, which took just hours.
So many stickers.
But it looks fantastic, and it's one of our favorite games, and we even have 2 expansions, and they fit inside that box, so it's like a little bonus putting that one in there.
Second, I picked my actual favorite game. Not that Unmatched Cobble and Fog isn't one of my favorite games, because it is, but second, I picked Evolution.
Oh, the base one though, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So after New York Zoo and Tiny Towns, I went right for Land vs. Sea. Nice small box, excellent tile placement game. I don't want to be without that one if I can only have a tiny shelf full of games.
Next, I chose Tournament at Camelot, which is my favorite trick-taking game.
Yeah, we just talked about that one in our trick-taking video, so if you want to see that, then just bop on over there and click on that video.
Bop on over.
Bop on over. That is how you get to trick-taking game videos.
Yeah, that is.
There is bopping.
Yes.
My next choice was a bit of a surprise to Billy since we haven't ever played it.
I feel like that might be cheating.
It's not cheating. I'm allowed to have these games. No one said I had to play them. And that's Obsession, which I spent 2 hours organizing. I love organizing games though, so that's not that big of a sacrifice. But I know I'm going to love this game. I definitely want to keep it on the shelves, so into the cubicle it went.
Next, I put in my favorite engine builder, Res Arcana. Also, the first engine builder I've ever really played.
I think it's still your only one, so favorite is kind of a
It is, though.
It definitely is. Of the one engine builder game you played, Res Arcana is your favorite. Also, it's kind of a littler box, so...
It is, it's pretty small.
That was better. Because you had some, big ones.
Had some.
You had some. The next one I snuck onto the shelf was Cascadia. I was going to pick Calico because they're the same size box. And honestly, I might like Calico a little bit more. But I feel like everybody else is more willing to play Cascadia. And it's an easier thing to teach and take out. So I put Cascadia on the shelf. But it could have been swapped.
Next up is one of my favorites, but I don't think we've played it in a while. Indian Summer.
Ah, nice polyomino game. We have
acting like you don't know what I'm gonna say. We took these pictures before.
No, we didn't. It's live. So we have New York Zoo and Indian Summer polyomino games coming out. Speaking of polyomino games, my next choice is Paris, La Cité de la Lumière, which is obviously going to make it onto the shelf because it's a nice small box, which means I get more games. And also it's one of my favorite games, and it's beautiful and quick. It's 2-player only, which my shelf will be pretty much filled with.
Next up, because I can't just have Evolution, I got the Climate expansion.
So you spent valuable shelf space on the expansion.
It's very worth it.
Because you can't play Evolution without Climate.
It's my favorite game.
Okay.
It needs it.
All right. I'm just making sure we're very clear that, that was your choice. I offered to let you just have Evolution and have Climate be implied.
That would be cheating.
My next game is a party game because if these are all the games that we're going to have in the house, then I want Monstrosity for when people come over and we can play a party game.
Next is more Evolution. Well, not really, but kind of. It's Oceans.
You just went for the whole series.
This game is a huge box, but it is absolutely worth it in my mind because I just adore all of these games.
Good thing that the new one wasn't here yet because you wouldn't have enough room in your
It looks
shelf.
different enough that I would have to include it and the old one.
Yeah, no, you'd have no room. My next choice is Royal Visit, which is another 2-player card game with a nice little fabric mat that's snappy and quick and a little bit mean, so it's definitely going to make it onto the shelf. Also, it's the same size box, so I'm just going to make a little stack of the same size boxes.
Next up for me is Jaipur, a game I still have not lost against her at.
Right, and also, you went Jaipur over Botnik.
Yeah, well, I figured you'd want Botnik. And sometimes, occasionally, I am nice.
No, this is not true. I chose Hadrian's Wall as a roll and write because if I have to play solo, that's going to be the one that I would most prefer to play. Hadrian's Wall is heavy, and as Billy says, she thinks it feels like I'm doing homework when I do it. But still, if I'm going to sit down to a little bit lengthy solo game, and I don't feel like setting up, Arnak or something with 1,000,000 pieces, or Honeybuzz solo with 1,000,000 pieces, I like Hadrian's Wall. You just take out the sheets and a few little meeples, and off you go.
Next up, I have Fox in the Forest, my second favorite trick-taking game. Also a nice small box.
It is a nice small box. You're going to have to start getting nice small boxes because you filled up with oceans. My next choice was Vetoed by Billy, and I could not put it in.
Yes, because it's not one choice,
because
is it?
I wanted to put some button shy games in, which would have been horizontal.
No.
Or vertical, like in those little spaces.
You could put that giant case of button shy games you have. That would count. That's a box.
Yeah, but by the time we get here, I don't have space for the giant one because I was just going to slide some on top.
You should have thought about that before you counted on cheating.
You vetoed. It's not cheating. They are games. They should have been allowed to slide right in there. So since I couldn't have that, I grabbed Castle Party for another roll and write, but this one that we could play with multiple people. This is just adorable.
I love that game.
It's such a good theme, and it's so easy to learn. So
and it's polyomino, kind of.
And it's a nice little box.
No, it is.
Yeah, it's polyomino shapes, not polyomino tiles. So it's a nice little box, though. Fits right in.
Next is a game that I am almost undefeated in. That Time You Killed Me.
Well, as I call it, that time Billy won again.
It's a very fun game.
It is. It's a nice abstract game that I only occasionally...
It's a very thematic game.
It is not.
I'm going to say this every time. It's very thematic.
It's not thematic. But it is a good game, so good choice. My next one was to make up for Billy's lack of judgment, and so I put Botanic on the shelf, which I'm sure she knew I was going to do.
It took you a couple tries,
It's
though.
a bit like cheating, though, to be like, well, I know you're going to pick it, so I'll get to play it, too.
Should I have hate drafted?
No. What if those were your only games and you did not get to play mine? We'd be really sad because it would have
Neither of us could play with each
it would
other.
be solo games all day long.
Next up is Silver. And that's Bullet, Amulet, Dagger, and the other one.
Coin.
Coin!
Yeah, because we have them all in one box.
Coin's one of my favorites. How could I forget it?
Coin range, number one. Yeah, but we cram them all in one box, so you got kind of 4 games in one going there.
Just Silver.
Yeah.
The box.
My next is a nice teeny tiny little box with a trick-taking game, and that's Jekyll versus Hyde, which everybody knew I was going to put on the shelf because it's small and because I talk about it all the time. So no surprise there.
Next, I have Campy Creatures, which I love everything about the theme and the art. And it's not quite a trick-taking game, but it has a lot of the same feeling.
It's trick-taking adjacent.
Yeah.
The next one I put on here, I almost didn't, but it's one of my older favorite games, and that's Isle of Skye.
We haven't played that in
Which
too
is
long.
like if Carcassonne and Biblios had a little baby. That would be Isle of Skye. And it would be a really nice little baby, and everyone should play.
Next up, I have Subterra. A really it can be a really tense game. It feels really creepy and claustrophobic, and it's just really fun.
Yeah, it's a nice spooky game. It's a cooperative game. We don't have a lot of these on the shelf. Do we have any others on the shelf right now? No.
Probably. Oh no, on this? No.
On the shelf?
No, we don't.
My next one is another party game, but it's a really small box, and that's Monikers, which I think we've had so much fun playing because
Oh, a ton of fun. And with Grandma, too.
because even people who don't want to like be in the spotlight or play charades, by the time you get through the third round, everyone's laughing so hard that they've lost that kind of nervousness about playing the game, and everybody's just all in and having a great time and making in-jokes and laughing. I don't think we've ever kept score. Ever.
Nah.
No, it's not worth it. Just play the game.
That's not what you do with this kind of game anyway. Next up, I have Claim 2 specifically because it has the best factions.
It doesn't.
Objectively.
It doesn't. But Billy can have Claim 2 on her shelf if she wants to. Next, I have 2 that didn't fit. I tried 2 games that because of the rules, because we can't take everything out and shift it around, there were 2 games that I tried that didn't make it, and that's Mysterium Park. Did not fit on the shelf.
It's not that big a game.
No, but I was getting to the end of the space here, and since I can't rearrange, my decisions earlier on are haunting me. So Mysterium Park and Gentle Rain
Oh, that's a nice
do
game.
not make it onto the shelf. They just somehow don't fit. So I went with... Somehow. So I went with Fake Artist Goes to New York, which that's gonna have to fit. It's the tiniest little party game ever. And one of my favorites.
Is that your last game?
No, it's not my last game. I can put more games in. Teeny games.
Next, I have Gentle Rain, which did fit on my shelf.
You took my game and stuffed it on your
You're
shelf.
the one that couldn't
I'm
make it work.
sure it was a gift for me. You just put it on your shelf so that I could play it, right?
No, fine. It's a solo game. I'm gonna hide it.
My next one to fit in is the slimmest little roll and write we have, and that's Silver and Gold. And I snuck that one right in there.
Next, I have Fantasy Realms. Very small game. but it's a very good game.
Yes, play with the scoring.
Oh yeah, there's a
yeah.
I think the official app got like discontinued, but
Yeah,
there's
but
still
you can find it online.
There's a fan-made thing that does the same thing and does the expansion too.
It takes all the fiddly nonsense out of that game, and you can just score it and be done. It's so good.
It's so much easier.
Such a good game. My last game that I managed to squeeze onto the shelf is the game of Mean Trees, or Arboretum. It's beautiful, it's smart, it's crunchy, and it's a little bit mean. So I wanted to make sure it squeezed onto the shelf. And that was the last one that fit for me. What's your honorable mention?
It was a nice small game that I couldn't get to wedge on the shelf, even though I really wanted to. But I didn't even try because I knew it wouldn't fit. Star Wars Rebellion.
It's not a nice small game.
It's a nice little travel game.
You should have put Liberation on there, but you wouldn't let me put Button Shy games in. You could have had a teeny tiny little
You could have had the collection or not. You just have one tiny game. That's cheating.
My honorable mention is Doodle Dash, which is like a combination of just one and a drawing game for a party game, and I just couldn't make it fit on the shelf, and I wasn't willing to give up another spot for it.
We played that at PAX, right?
Yeah. Super fun. It just came out here, so if you get a chance to play it, it's a really, really good one. I think it's going to be really popular, but I've been wrong before. So I had 17 games on my shelves. Billy had 16 games. Did you pick based on how many you could get in there at any point?
No, I was just picking games I liked.
Yeah, at the end, you were picking smaller games.
I had to, but to start off with, that was not something I kept in mind. I was just going for ones I liked.
Yeah, I thought about being like, I'm just going to pick every one of our small box games that I love.
And yet, you're the one that had lots of games that wouldn't fit, and I did not have that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still picked just the games that I wanted. I just happen to like a lot of small box games. So, I mean, Obsession is not a small box game.
No.
It's heavy. It's the heaviest game we own. I mean, weight-wise, it is the heaviest game we own right now. So, if you had to put your games on just a 2x2 shelf, how many would you get in there? Which games would you choose? Would you go for quality, quantity? Would you go for party games or solo games? What games would you pick? If you decide to do the challenge, leave a message in the comments and let us know, because we would love to see what you fit on your shelf. Just remember the rules. No checking beforehand. Only vertical or horizontal. No higgeldy-piggeldy. You can have 2 do-overs if you really need them, but you can't rearrange the shelf entirely to put a new game on.
And also, no higgledy-piggledy.
No higgledy-piggledy. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see,
or if you want to keep watching until we get one right,
then please like, subscribe, and share. As always, open tables, open minds, and play your shelves.
Bye! And we definitely did not take these pictures ahead of time. We're doing this as live.
It's definitely live.
I can't do words.
Daylight out. No, Arboretum was my one more, because I went first, and then I went last.
I went first. You did go first.
Ding! If you decide to do this...